Hello everyone. Welcome to this episode of Sunday Messages. We are talking about expectations today. And let me start off by saying that expectations are one of those things that really puts you in the frequency of knowing. So when it comes to the creative power behind expectation, it's one of the best things for you to practice, because deeper than practicing hope or faith or belief or anything like that, getting into the energy of knowing and then getting into the energy of expectation is extremely potent. And when you can carry yourself emotionally into the realm of expectation, you really start bringing things to life very, very quickly. So let's talk about energetic cleanliness for a moment. If you don't know already, the next mastermind that I'm launching, we start in July, is Clean the Mastermind. So this is a container that is dedicated to getting you into this expectation frequency, because expectation frequencies, when you're doing them and using them and focusing on them and harnessing them in the right way, they are incredibly clean. I've spoken about this before, but I'm going to say it again. Going fast and doing things in a clean way, holding clean emotions, clean focus, really keeping your energy nice and sharp is how you go fast. So it doesn't actually have anything to do necessarily with the unfolding. We can think about it that way, but there's more to it than that. So instead of considering the unfolding and concerning yourself with all of the nitty-gritty details of the things that you want and the life that you want and all of that clutter, what actually serves you more is thinking about this from an energetic alignment standpoint. So when I'm saying energetic alignment, I am saying there is absolutely zero contradiction between you and the stuff. You and the money, you and the partnership, you and the house. When you get yourself on board 100% with the desire, it must come. It has no way of not coming to you. So this is the power of expectation. This is why it matters so much. Because when you are in the energetic space where you don't just know it, but you absolutely expect these things to come to you. You expect the world to organize itself. You expect heaven and earth to move in order to make this possible for you. There is no contradiction in that. Now, this episode is coming at a perfect time, because what I've been noticing with clients, with friends, with all sorts of people in my life is that their expectations are actually carrying them off into the weeds. Like the expectations are actually causing more harm than good. Because the thing is, there's no getting around the fact that you have expectations. The question is not, do you have expectations? The question is, what is happening with your expectations? Where are those expectations taking you? Are they helping you? Are they harming you? Are they keeping you at a plateau? What are the expectations doing? Because a lot of the time, people hold the expectations, but for whatever reason, they don't massage them into something that takes you where you want to go. And that's really what you want to be doing. So anyway, let me just say this now. For those of you who are interested in Clean, it is all about getting the crisp, energetic refinement that just puts you where you want to go, right? We're collapsing the clutter. We are just getting to the heart of your desire and holding your desire in a container long term so that things can come faster. So my emphasis on this container, which I have not actually intended in a container ever before, is speed. The speed in which people align and the speed in which things come to life. So that's the magic that I'm sprinkling all over the container of Clean, so that, because my focus, my intention, my expectation for everyone in the container is that that's how it's going to go. So this is also why it makes me really excited for everyone who's inside, because I have this powerful intention for how Clean is going to go. and what's going to happen for people when they bring what they want into the container and then watching it come to life. So if that sounds like something that you want to do, if you've been wanting to work with me, if you want to do some longer term work, it's a 5-month container. So we have plenty of time together to really work on whatever your desires might be, get you to where you want to go. And I'm so excited for everything that's happening inside. So you are more than welcome to apply if you feel the ping, if you feel the call, if you feel the nudge. The link is in the description box or the show notes, depending on where you're listening to this. And we're going to have a really fantastic time. So when it comes to expectation identity, this is what I'm calling it, because there is an aspect of people in terms of how they identify and place themselves. It usually falls into one of two camps. So there are some people who identify themselves as being expectant people. So I would consider myself to be one of these people. Sometimes it really hurts. Sometimes it jacks me up with how expectant I am because I'm expecting things to the point of pain. That can be something that happens for me. But then it also allows me to go really fast with other things. So I identify myself and know that I know I'm expectant. I have really strong expectations. I like being expectant of things because it helps me go fast. The other camp of the identity aspect of expectations, I would call this the denial group. So the denial of expectations, like, no, I don't have any expectations of this. Everything's fine. I don't know how it's going to go. Let's see. It has this chill girl vibe to me. Like, no, everything's cool. Everything's chill. However, the denial piece, if you deny the fact that you have expectations, because let's just cut to the chase here. You've got expectations. Whether you want to admit it or not, if you expect the sun to come up in the morning, you've got expectations. So there's no getting around this expectation thing, this human thing that we're all doing. That's what your brain is designed to do. It's meant to find patterns. It's meant to expect things. It's meant to look for predictability in what's going on in your world. Now, we can change whether or not you're focusing on things that are predictable or things that are extraordinary or things that are unpredictable or things that are good or things that are bad. But to say that you don't expect, I call bullshit. I don't think that's legitimate. What I think is actually going on is if you fall into that chill girl group, I would consider this to actually be more defensive. So this is a defense mechanism. This is kind of like, I need to shield myself from disappointment. I need to just not expect. I need to not put my whole heart and back this desire. I need to not expect anything because if I expect, I'm going to be disappointed. And so there's this withholding from desire and withholding from what you truly want, and this denial to go all in is what I see from this other expectation group, or fear of judgment around having really strong expectations. I have also seen this manifest as fear of being entitled. So I just want to clear this up here is having a strong expectation or just acknowledging the fact that you have expectations is not the same thing as being entitled and snotty. Those are two completely different things that are not related. You can have a very strong expectation that you are going to create good things in your life that has nothing to do with bombarding people, being a dick to others. That's not related. They're just not the same thing. So if you can think about this as they're two completely separate concepts and they're two completely different things, entitlement is a flavor, expectation is a human thing that we do. So I can expect from a warm place, I can expect from a kind place, I can expect from knowing that life is good to me. That's just a flavor of expectation. So one of the things that might be beneficial for you to reflect on within yourself is, what kind of expector are you? Are you in denial of expectation? Are you trying to shield yourself? Do you find yourself withholding from expectation? Like, I can't expect too much. That one's super, super common. Or are you more dominating and demanding with expectation? I think I kind of fall into that category personally, where I want what I want. I want what I want. I'm getting what I want. I'm creating what I want. I'm a god. So for me, it's easier to trend into fiery, aggressive, assertive flavors of expectation because I feel powerful. Fire makes me feel powerful more than anything else. And so this is also, the interesting thing that I think people forget is I can be super big-hearted and super kind and super respectful and have extremely strong and powerful expectations and have a lot of fire behind me. And so this is where we really get into, you can just look at this for yourself. What's the flavor? What's the vibe? Maybe fire isn't your thing. Maybe it's more warm. Maybe it's more of an expectation that's like you get more bees with honey. That type of sweetness, that warmth, that comfort, because that's very attractive as well. In the same way that fire can be really magnetic, so can honey, so can sweetness. And so just allow yourself to place yourself maybe with where you are right now in your expectations. And then the second dimension to look at here is, how do you want to be? If you find that your identity or self-perception around expectation isn't exactly where you want it to be, or it's not necessarily serving you the best, right? If you're in that avoidant, denial energy around expectation, what would the next era of you expecting in more of a constructive way look like? What does the expectant version of you, if you just owned it for yourself, what does that feel like? What's the vibe? What's the flavor? You can play with imagery and flavor. I love playing with sensory stuff to get into the energy of the thing you're trying to embody. So those are the two different ways that you can consider it. Like, let me think about my next evolution around my expectations. So what I'm seeing for myself is actually more relaxation. So power, but then there's this dimension of relaxation, me not needing to push anything, me continuing to hold my intensity, but in a way where I'm actually opening up and receiving more. So there's not so much energetic exertion, which is kind of an old paradigm, Sydney. This is, I have the power, I have the fire, I have the gas, I've got it all. But then there's an opening and a relaxation that gets to kind of come in and be the subtext of the expectation. So one of the things that I was contemplating in the car yesterday, I was on a long drive, and I started to think about when people say that they don't have any expectations. And you hear this a lot. People say it all the time. Drop your expectations, release expectations, don't have any expectations. And once again, I call bullshit on this. I don't think this is a strategy that works for anything that you care about. So here's where it does work. Dropping expectations and not having any expectations works for things that are super foreign. So if it's something like a situation you've never been in or something you've never seen before, it's just so abnormal to you that you literally have no clue what to expect. Your imagination can't even go beyond where you are in the present moment. Okay, that's where you can not necessarily have any expectations other than a general, is it good or bad? Do I expect something good or do I expect something bad even if I'm in a foreign situation? The second way that this works is if it's something that you genuinely do not care about. So if I'm in a situation or there's something that I don't care about, I don't really have any expectations about it because my heart really isn't in it. So if there's no strong emotional reaction to whether or not something shakes out in a particular way, then practicing not having any expectations and just letting, God take care of it is much easier. But for people who want something really deeply, when there's something you're really excited about, if it is a big deal, then you're going to have expectations. So anytime someone has said, just don't have any expectations, my immediate question was, how? What do you mean don't have any expectations about something that I really want? Through saying don't have any expectations, are you telling me to drop my desire? Because that's not possible. It's not possible for me to stop wanting something that I really, really want. So generally when people say this, I feel like it throws them into that denial category really quickly. Like, oh, don't expect, because if you expect, then you might be disappointed. And it's almost this encouragement for people to guard themselves from disappointment. This is also something that I spoke about in the outcome episode, where I said, no, want the outcome, be open to how it unfolds. There might be some variability in how it unfolds, right? That's something that you can loosen your grip around, because the human mind cannot conjure up the exact way that things are going to unfold. That's the human part that can't be done. However, the human part that you can do is focus on what you want. Expect what you want. Expect good things. Expect this to go your way. Expect that this is going to be greater than you ever imagined. Those types of expectations are really serving you. So here's the difference. Let's say you apply to a specific job. And I've said this before, as far as if there's something about that job that is not a total energetic match to what you desire and what you like, the true manifestation that you want. If your human brain is thinking this is the one, but the reality of it is not, you don't want to get that job. You want God, you want the universe to work out the bugs for you. So that's where you would loosen up. You would say, if this is right, it's going to stick. If this is exactly what I've been asking for, and this checks all the boxes, and this is going to be a delightful experience. If this is an energetic match to what I have been focused on, assuming that you're being clean about it, then you can trust and hold the expectation that that's going to be what you're going to get no matter what. So the only place that you want to lighten up a little bit is the details. That is not the same thing as don't have any expectations. I have not met this person who can successfully not have expectations and want something really intensely. I don't know that person. One person comes to mind. However, he falls into the category of being really apathetic. So he doesn't have really potent, strong desires, and he doesn't have a really deep emotional spectrum. So if you have a really, really wide range of emotion, and you have really strong desires, and you want deeply, and you're really connected to creating a beautiful life, then expectation is something that you want to harness in a way that is supportive rather than harmful. And trying to say and just tell yourself that you don't have expectations probably isn't going to work. It's just going to make you feel like you're trying to tear yourself away from the thing that you really want. And it doesn't work. That's the simplest way I can put it. It just doesn't work. So don't bother. The better thing for you to do, in my opinion, is yes, expect powerfully, but make sure that it's an expectation that is around exactly what you desire, lighten up on the specifics a bit. And that is like the perfect recipe for expectation. Typically, in the past, if I've ever tried to get myself behind the idea, because I have definitely tried to do that thing where I say, I'm not having any expectations around this. It was always from a place of guarding. And then after the fact, after the thing panned out how it was going to pan out, I felt crappy because then I came to the awareness that I did have expectations all along. There were things that I wanted. I did want it to go a particular way. I did have expectations the whole time that I was denying. And that just felt worse. It did not help. It did not bring relief. Nothing of the sort. Now, here's what's even more interesting about this. So that's just the very superficial layer of when people are saying nonsense like, oh, I don't have any expectations about this. I'm cool with whatever. They're in that chill girl nonsense energy. Now, what is even deeper? So we could call this like the secondary layer of expectation is what you actually thought was going to happen all along. So there's the superficial, I don't know, what do you want? How do you think it's going to go? There's that. And then there's like the deeper layer of tissue emotionally, which is that undercurrent of what did you actually expect here? What are your expectations of that person? Are you actually holding an expectation of, yeah, I want that job, but I don't think I can really get a job that good, or I don't think I'm qualified for that, or there's no way that's going to happen? Or are you wanting to do something, but then there's that secondary expectation that's like that really powerful rip current that's carrying you over into stuff that you don't want? That's actually where the work is done. It's not what you're telling yourself from a conceptual standpoint. I think that's where most people stay, is in that surface layer of what do you expect? What do you think is going to happen? And then there's that core feeling piece of what you expect. And usually this manifests as, I knew that would happen. I knew that was going to happen all along. I didn't say it out loud, but I knew. That is pointing out what your expectations actually are. Because the thing is, you can't just override your energetics with statements. That's not the point of like marrying language to energetics. You know what I'm talking about if you took Fabric of the Universe, where it has to be a genuine shift in your emotional range in terms that the frequency has to change. Not just the stuff that you're saying. Language can help you get there, but it's not the lies that you're telling yourself that aren't landing in an emotional way. The frequency has to change. The emotions have to change. The conviction in what you're saying, the knowing in what you're saying, the true core expectation has to change. What you know to be true has to change. What you expect of yourself has to change. And when you can get to the place where you're solid in the expectation of it, or if you're dealing with a lot of negative expectations, then it would be softening those up. So you may not be able to do a 180 because pretty much no one can. It's damn near impossible, and it's not wise. I don't recommend it. But if you can simply soften it up, like if you're making always and never statements, soften that up, because always and never is really extreme. And if you can simply identify that always and never are pretty much never true, and the only reason why they do come to life and the only reason why they become true is because they're an expectation that you're holding internally and that you're putting all of your energy behind and that you're using as a shield to protect yourself from disappointment. That's why they come to life, not because they're facts, But just because your frequency is so compatible with that as being truth, that it has no point but to come into your awareness and into your experience and into your emotional body. So this is the power of expectation, and also the problem with expectation, right? Is they're very, very powerful. And if you're just letting them go rogue, you're not paying attention to what you're expecting. And here's a good way to identify what you're expecting. Let's say you have a thought. What's the feeling that's right behind it when you have a thought? Because if you think something good and then there's this feeling that just feels sour, even if it's subtle, but there's this doubt that kicks in, or there's this funk that comes up, or there's this just sick feeling within. If that's what's on the heels of a positive thought, then it's pointing what your expectation actually is within the situation. So that's where the real work exists, is actually shifting the feeling and not necessarily the thought. This is why people get so frustrated with things like affirmations and mantras, because they're like, Jesus, I've been saying this forever and it still isn't coming to life. And the reason being is it's not emotionally activating you in a proportionate way. You want it to be proportionate to where you're at and what your body and nervous system and mind and energy can get behind and handle next. And so that's why the expectation is usually revealed in that feeling state after you present yourself with something. The other thing I should mention here is that this is going to be different for every topic. It's going to be different in every area of your life. Some things are going to feel really big and intense. Some things are going to feel really small. And whatever you feel most confident in is what you're going to have the most positive expectation about going your way. Now, my recommendation, of course, is that you also practice getting your energy behind the general expectation of life is good to you. Now, if you've been through hell, which you all know if you've been listening to my podcast, I get that. Lived it, been there, done it, seen it, walked through it. I absolutely understand that. But I'm talking about the peak of where you want to go, kind of the catch-all expectation that is wise for you to embody, that is prudent for you to focus on, is the general life is good to me. Because if you can get yourself behind that, it kind of cuts through the bullshit. You don't need to focus on any specifics unless it feels really good to you. And you can just hold this confident expectation and knowing that life is good to you and it's treating you well. And that way it will leave less room for clutter. It'll leave less room for the thought forms and the feelings and the clutter and the old stuff from your childhood that you keep reactivating. All of that kind of gets cut out when you can get to that really broad open space of just life is good to me. And then if you can relax into that statement and relax into that expectation, it will work everything out for you. You don't actually have to go any deeper with anything if you're just staying in that broad level. So that's a very powerful and beneficial expectation to hold within you and just keep holding it, keep holding it, keep holding it. Now, here's another way that expectations come up, and this is actually one of my favorite things about expectations, or that secondary layer that I was talking about, which is sometimes I'll have a negative thought, but the feeling that happens within me, and I'm sure you felt this too, you have a negative thought and then the feeling that comes is like, no, I know this is going to happen. Like, I know this good thing is actually going to happen. It doesn't even matter what your thought is presenting to you, because deep down what you're feeling is, no, this is what I really expect from this situation. And those are some of my favorite things, because what that means, hear this, what that means is your expectation is now so potent that it's able to override your thoughts. Okay? That's really big and really important for you to understand, because so many people are frightened by their thoughts. But this secondary expectation that is actually being held within the body is the truth teller. That's the truth teller of where your frequency is actually at, what you're actually calling into your life, what you actually believe to be true. Then if a thought form comes into the mix, but your frequency is so dialed and so on point, the thought form doesn't even matter. It becomes irrelevant, because the truth deep down, that soul fuck yes knowing, has already generated so much energy that nothing else can stick in any type of meaningful way. Oh, God, this was a good episode. This is such a good episode. I'm so proud of what I've put into the microphone today. Now, once again, this is what clean is all about. This is what we're doing in clean, is we are cleaning up the expectations, the belief systems, the conviction that you're holding about your life, the direction that you're going within your life. And let me tell you, it is going to be extremely powerful. So your expectations for yourself, for your life, for your well-being, for where you're going, for what you're doing, for what you're receiving, is absolutely having an effect and an impact on what you are living right now. And all of these subtleties and nuances is where the fun begins. This is also why I'm exceptional at what I do, is because this is where I like to play, is all of these subtle realms that are actively constructing what you have going on. And so clean is about making sure there's deep internal congruency between frequency and desire. And when those two things are married, oh my God, you are unstoppable. I am not exaggerating in the slightest. You are invincible when frequency and desire is just buttoned up, super polished, super on point. So that's what we're going to be doing in clean. Once again, the link is in the description box or the show notes if you'd like to apply, if you want to hop in. I would love to have you. We start in July. This is also my 38th day of Apex. It has been absolutely phenomenal. I am so excited, and I even have made some modifications that I'm going to be weaving in for the fall round. So I'm really excited because Apex is changing, it's evolving in the best way imaginable. And every time I walk myself through it and I lead others through it, there's so much refinement that's happening. So I'm really excited for the fall round. That's currently on waitlist. So if you want a payment plan for that, that's going to be opening up in July if you need some extended payment options. And we will be starting the second round. If you missed the spring or you've been on the fence, we're starting in October. And of course, I have other projects that are going to be a whole lot of fun coming up in the near future, so I'm excited to share those with you as well. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. If you feel someone could benefit from hearing this, please send it to them. I appreciate the shares. I appreciate all of the glowing reviews on iTunes and Spotify, and I love you all so much. Have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. You later. Bye-bye. You later. Bye-bye.